And welcome back to Wicked F150, and the interior change is swapping out the steering wheel. So I'm kind of really excited for it. Of course, it is completely dark outside, but I want to get it done. That's how excited I am to get this in. So, of course, we have to take this one off first, and to do that, you have to get to these little holes, one there, and then, of course, there's one here on this side to push a little lever. There's one on each side to pop the airbag off. Of course, the first step I need to mention, disconnect the negative on the battery. Okay, that's why there's no lights on in the truck at the moment. And let it sit for at least 10 minutes. I think I've let it sit for probably a half hour at least. But make sure you do the battery. You don't want this popping out in your face. But to do the little holes here, I'm just using a meat thermometer because they're just little pins that you have to push in. So let's go ahead and stick that in. See if I can get in there with this and get this done. Alright, so it was a little tricky to get it out, and I actually broke my meat thermometer. But as you're pushing in from the little holes on the side, make sure you're gently prying out so it doesn't clip back in. But the next thing you're going to want to do is unhook the airbags themselves. They have these little orange clips on them. Let me push this one back in actually so I can show you. Screwdriver or whatever. I have this with me, so you just want to go up underneath of it, pry up so you can get it to pop. So then you can unhook these. They're just little connectors here. One out. Would be easier if I could use two hands. Alright, so I'm going to need two hands to hold on to that one and get in there. But you unplug both of those, and then as you can see, there's another wire here connected. The clip, where's the clip? I don't feel the clip on this one. Okay, so you can just pull up, and there you go. So the clip's right there. I'm going to have to push it down to pull it out. It does not look like it has a release from there. But that'll be it to remove the airbag itself. And then we'll go to tearing off the steering wheel. Okay, so the airbag is off. It was kind of a pain to get this one unhooked. That little clip that's right here, you have to pry up on here on the corner and get it high enough to pull it out. There's no quick disconnect or anything like that on there. But then you go ahead and unplug three other harnesses. The ones right here, the tab is right here on the top, and then these two on the sides. It is a tiny, tiny little release on the inside. So when you put your hand in, it'll be on this side of the harness, just a tiny little one on both sides. Here, let me show you that. See that tiny little quick disconnect? Again, on the inside. And now we are ready to remove the steering wheel. So this nut is the only bolt, or not nut, yeah, bolt, holding it on. And my phone's dying, so the battery went off. Or the light went off. So we have to remove this bolt. It is a 15/16 socket. And I'm using a breaker bar to be able to break that off. Forgot my bigger connector for my impact gun at work, so I get to just use my breaker bar for this. But let's go ahead and get this. And the steering wheel is off. The only wires that come through the steering wheel itself is the airbag wires, so be careful pulling them out. You don't want to jerk on them. And the other plugs, as to why you need to disconnect them, is because the top one connects into there. I guess you wouldn't have to remove the side ones. They're still, of course, there. So the top one and the harnesses. And of course I just laid the bolt right there for later use. Now the steering wheel I got, it is not a platinum or a limited steering wheel to where I just swap over the steering wheel itself. You will see it, of course, here in the video in a little bit, but I'm gonna have to swap over the wiring from the factory steering wheel, the wiring that's inside there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done, and we'll be back. All right, so we got them inside here, so I could tear them apart. And your first opportunity to see the new steering wheel. Sorry for the LOLs in the background. But this is the new wheel, and at the moment it kind of looks pink, but it's red. Let's move it over. It's definitely red. But this is actually off eBay. There was on one of the... I've looked at them before. They've been on the forum. But just last week, it was actually... a gentleman posted it on one of the Facebook pages and had said that because they're normally $325 minimum, because you can customize them and do all that kind of stuff. He offered $225 and they accepted it. So I went in, started at $200. They said $240. I said $225. They declined. So $240 was their max, or the lowest they'll go. So it was $240. But I chose the leather one. Now, of course, it's synthetic, not real, since some people like really are particular about that. But it is synthetic leather. You can get it carbon fiber up here on the bottom and all of that. I didn't want carbon fiber. I'm not really a fan of the look, and I don't have any of it in my truck, period, so don't want a random piece. But because I got this one instead of one already off an F150, I had to swap over the harnesses. So to do that, you just pull it out. So underneath all of the trim and the inside, it's all rubber. That's the way everything's connected. These little holes for the trim with your buttons and everything, it's just a hard rubber that just, they pull right out. So I did need wire cutters, because here in the corners, there's two little zip ties to help hold the harness down, I guess. But as you can see, they're held in by the rubber in both corners as well. But did that, pull, and that's it. It's just these 4 spots where the wires are connected into the steering wheel. And it's the same thing, you just put them right back in the corners on the new steering wheel. Now, to do that, on the new one, let's see if I can get in there close enough. You can see there's a little bit more of a gap at the front without the little lines to hold it in place. I started it there and used needle nose pliers to push the wiring down inside the rubber on both corners. And then the trim, you literally just start at the top right here and just pry it away from the steering wheel itself. So you can see the edge that it sits on. You just pry it apart. Now, of course, all these little holes, and it is hard rubber, it is difficult. So I used my trim removal tools. So I started prying here at the top. I stuck one trim removal tool here, and then just moved around to the side, and immediately it all just started pulling off. So it's that simple to swap everything over. This is the new wheel. So I have a special edition XLT steering wheel. Has the red stitching. It is now for sale. And it is the little squishy pleather. I mean, it's not a limited or a platinum steering wheel, but it is still, it's not the hard plastic like an STX XL package is. So it's for sale if you want it. Message the Facebook or Instagram page. Let's go ahead and put this back in. All right, so while I was swapping over the stuff for the steering wheel, I was able to charge the phone, so we got a flash again. But go ahead and you just stick it on there and make sure it's lined up, because I don't even know what you want to call it, where the hole that the bolt goes into, it's a little post that comes through the steering wheel. It is angled, cut just like the head of the bolt is itself. So you have to make sure it's lined up with the airbag harness, the harness connector there, and then the bolt. So once you have that lined up, it'll all just slide on, and then you connect the bolt back. Now, it would be a lot easier if you had 2 people. So the wheel, because you don't want that turning while you're trying to undo the bolt or put it on. Because you have to really tighten this down, and it's really tight to begin with. You don't want to jerk on it enough to crank the wheel over and snap something. So it would help to have a second pair of hands to hold onto the wheel while you're trying to undo or tighten that bolt. Then you go ahead and connect the harnesses back up on each side. The one at the top there, this one will plug, of course, back into the red one on the airbag, and then these will, of course, connect back to the airbag. Now, before we get to that, if you can see, they're two different colors. One's blue and one's just straight yellow. They are color coded. They have to go back to the same color that they came off of, or you could possibly have some issues. So don't do that. Make sure you put them on the correct color on the airbag. But that is all we got to do. Let's go ahead and connect that. Okay, it is back together completely. Now, like I said, just connect the correct wires to the correct color, and then just push it in. And while you're doing that, because you want to get it clipped back in, you can push all you want. It doesn't matter. Like, it's dark here. So it is getting later. I think it's around 8, something like that. Battery's disconnected, no horn, so you ain't got to worry about messing with your neighbors or anything like that. But push the whole way around, make sure it's connected, because you don't want it to pop off or anything like that. But it's done. What do you guys think? Do you like how it looks? I love it. I mean, it feels great. The steering wheel itself is a little beefier. It's not very much bigger circumference wise, but it is definitely beefier on the handles. And like I said, the red stripe here is nice. I like that. I have a special edition. And it does, which I just noticed, have finger indentations on the back, because I guess they figure everybody drives with the one hand on the top, which I do. So that is kind of nice too. But of course, the link will be in the description. And once this is done, don't forget to connect your battery back up. But that was it. I do want to say that, one, I appreciate everybody that watches these videos. I mean, this kind of stuff would not be possible without you guys. So I do greatly, greatly appreciate it. And there is many more coming. Like I said, the wheel spacers, they are on their way whenever they will get here. The roll bar for the bed, whenever that is done. I want to do an intercooler, possibly fender flares, depending on how bad the spacers push out the wheels. So that's a possibility. If money ever, the videos just go crazy and I make great money off YouTube, I want to change out the dash to a lariat dash. But that, I know that is ridiculously expensive. I want to upgrade the turbos, possibly swap to a 6-inch lift with the Rough Country Vertex adjustable coilovers, which are supposed to be a really, really amazing ride. So that one might just happen just to make the ride super amazing. What else? There's still about $5,000 worth of stuff I want to do to this truck. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. Keep watching. Share it. Like it. Hit the bell so you get notified when I make a new video. I really appreciate everybody, and have a great weekend, guys. See you later.